Okay, you lucky boys and girls, Teardown Tuesdays. Here we've got one of these cheap and cheerful mixers. This is 20 quid from Aliexpress. It's got some interesting features. It can record straight to a USB drive. It's got phantom power, which is the reason I bought it, so we can use condenser microphones. It's got MP3 player, it's got Bluetooth. It's also got a terrible grounding problem. Feedback from the digital side coming directly through onto the analog side. The only possible way of using this is keeping the bass right down and recording only analog through the main output here. So I'm going to go and delve inside and have a little look why this is a piece of crap. Some of the other problems is it's got a built-in sound card through USB. You try and record for it, and every 10 seconds it goes from Chipmunk to Darth Vader. On off through the entire recording, so that's bloody useless. You can't use the Bluetooth really because of the amount of noise from the cheap module. And this is the microphone channel is absolute pants, as goes the feedback. If you just have it on analog, no digital noise at all, and then you edge that bass up to there at full gain, and the peak light will just go bam 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 bam. So yeah, that's not a lot of use really. Let's see if we can delve inside and see what makes this especially crap, and maybe fix it. So standard screws here, as usual, hidden under the rubber feet. What I'm suspecting is that there's zero shielding on the inside of the plastic case, which can be fixed by putting some earthed copper tape around the inside. I've got a roll of that, so it's easy to try at least. As goes the analog feedback, all I can suspect on that is that it could do with a couple of capacitors, an electrolytic and a ceramic. Okay, so we've got a couple of leads going on here. Let's yank them out. So I take it that this here is the PC sound card. Not very impressed by the soldering there. Let's get a little close up. There, lots of flux left behind around the pads here. Big globs of solder. It's not very impressive, to be honest. Let's have a look what's underneath. Okay, that's not looking so complex. We've got 3 chips on here. There is 34063 Hamsa. 3 of them, all the same. So I'll look that up on edit, and then I'll put some titles up with the chip details so you can see what it is. Now for a start, there's a few resistors missing there. Sometimes they try to cut corners and fail miserably. I'm just having a look to see if there's any bad connections on the capacitors, but certainly yeah, if you can just see here, it's a dual board, but there's no solder on this side. It's virtually there's virtually nothing there. In fact, on these 3 pins here, there is no solder on them. They're flowed onto this side. No indication that these are through-hole plated boards. Only looks like they are on wires, so that's one of the first things, is to go over these and solder the connector on properly. If nothing else, it can't do any harm. Anyway, just for now, I'll poke that back. Yeah, that's horrible. How did that even used to fit? Oh, okay. Is it poking out like that? Yeah, just smashed in there. Now, on the assumption that these are just plain audio signals and power going in, this board might be swappable, or partially swappable, and put a USB dongle in there. Okay, so main board. Well, the main board looks slightly better soldered. Still kind of smeared all round with some flux remover. Now that looks a lot more like it's going to be a interesting chip. Again, this one I'll title. It should be coming up on the screen with the chip number and any information about it. This here looks like somewhere that a microphone would be liable to fit. Oh, there's 2. Okay, there's another one here. Typical little round microphone electret pads. Anyway, we'd best disconnect that, turn the main board over, and see what kind of a pig's ear it is. The soldering's not too bad on here. Yep, I'll pass that. Of course, on the inside of the case there's no shielding. Normally on a good piece of quality audio equipment, firstly it'd be in a metal case. There'd be at least a sheet of copper here for shielding, maybe a tin plate insert. Even on a car stereo, for God's sake, they'd have a thin aluminium foil plate covering this over. Okay, looks like we're going to have to remove a few more pieces. Okay, well, nearly got these off. At least they have screwed them on. That's a good sign. And the overall construction feels quite solid. There's a bit of play in the knobs here, but generally things are screwed down. I believe this is an ABS case. Sturdy. It doesn't creak or flex too much, which is handy because I want to use this for using shotgun mics on video work. One more. And they're very sensitive, not that they'll be pointing in the direction of the mixer, but if sensitivity's up high, then there's a danger of them picking up any noise around. Okay. Oh dear, if they glued these knobs on, would they do that? Surely they wouldn't glue the knobs on. No, they're just a good snug fit. I'm going to lay these out in order and save a bit of stress later not remembering which order they go. Oh, I do like a good teardown. Obviously not being too careful on a 20 quid unit. Time is money, and my time is worth more than this, even if I'm just laying in bed. Okay, so let's detach the panel. That's just the display and switch, and I take it that's probably some little cheap microcontroller. Okay, that's out the way. And so what do we have here? Okay, we've got a CD2399, which I take it that's the output buffer. A 78 MO5 voltage regulator in here. Nothing too special. Although I do notice that there's no decent capacitors near it. and they do need some decoupling. So before it goes back together, I'm going to be adding a couple of nothing big, just maybe a 10 nanofarad between the legs, two 10 nanofarads, both go into the ground. That can stop it from internal oscillation, and there's no reason to rule out that this isn't the overall cause at the moment. If it's going into oscillation because of one of these stages going into overload, drawing a little more current, and then flip-flopping that, you can't tell. You can't tell at this point. Okay, here, what do we have on these? That's 45080, and that's a 08Q. We'll have some more information up on the screen about them. Probably just basic little op amps. In fact, all of these ICs are the same. Yep, every single one. And so that keeps their cost down, buying in bulk. The headphone output here, also coming from one of these. They've got a few discrete transistors in here, which I think are for the peak display, and surprisingly running an old-fashioned type of circuit there rather than going through a microcontroller. So what can we see? There's no obvious missing components. The board does have a ground plane here. There's actually a lot of splattered solder around there, but that's not going to cause a problem. Before it goes back together, I'm going to get an earth lead on here and try and shield as much as possible. I'll get some copper tape on the inside of the back case. I'm going to get in here some shielding around the outside, and maybe over here, and then punch the holes through. Now, what of these leads and digital section is absolutely all in here. Yep, there's the Bluetooth antenna. So where is this? Ah, right, that is positioned in this cutout with these audio leads not being shielded. These can have some tape around them that can be starred to ground. That won't do any harm. And when it goes back, this board is going to be completely enclosed with shielding. Insulated shielding, obviously, but it's going to be enclosed, and it's going to go to a single point star earth. And hopefully that will be solving the problems. So, save these washers before they disappear. I will start the modification. Ah, now that's interesting. There is provision for some more controls there. Yeah, unfortunately that's on a different circuit board. There's nothing in the vicinity there that can be used. Okay, time to get the soldering iron. Right, let me get some tape on this. Don't curl up. This is not going to be perfect. This doesn't need to be perfect. It's an every little helps scenario. A little bit here, a little bit there. We're really careful. Should be able to just get there, just a tiny little blob. There. If it was radio frequency, I'd be doing a whole fillet along here, but for audio I think this is going to be enough. Then to decide, do we have to pierce these through or and cut them out completely? I don't think so. I'm thinking I can just pop them Look at that, we can even just get away with popping out the LED holes there. wouldn't it be amazing if this actually turns into a usable mixer? As they say, hope for the best, expect the worst and take what comes. Got one more LED there. An indicator, 48 volt, and oh, we better do the screw holes. I think we should put a little bit along the back as well. If you can't find copper tape, which you can because you can buy it anywhere online, or if you're too cheap to buy copper tape, then there's the alternative of getting aluminium ducting tape, which is available in pretty much every hardware store. And okay, you can't solder onto it, but it comes in big rolls, it's dirt cheap, and if you're just looking for a capacitive shielding, then it certainly has the advantage over nothing whatsoever. It can't do any harm, can it? And if you do use the aluminium tape, all you have to do is tape a piece of earthing wire underneath it, and again, it's not going to be a DC electrical connection of any worth, but it will make a capacitive connection, and because all of your hum is going to be coming through capacitive connections, then that really should at least compensate mostly okay, should we put a tiny blob of solder on here. And press it into the seams. Maybe some bits on the side. Again, this is not critical, but it may help, and I'm not averse to putting 10 pence worth of copper tape around something on the off chance. And another couple of blobs of solder. One in here. This copper tape is excellent as well if you have an electric guitar that will not stop humming. You can take the scratch plate off and smother it with this. Now, you do have to be a little careful around here, because that is the Bluetooth module, and we do need the antenna to have some access to the outside world. Otherwise it's not going to do anything, is it? But as much as I can, I'd like to get this piggy. The tough book wasn't quite so tough at one time. Yeah. Try and get that to stay standing up here. Okay, and then just a dab of solder there, and okay. So this can go back on now. Everything else is available to grab from the other side. I might just put a little piece of shield just on this lead here while it's available to grab. Okay, now I'm not bothering to look where these go, so I'm not going to try and connect any particular wire. There's a gap at the top and the bottom here. All I'm going to do is take a short piece of wire and find the ground point, which will be connected to the ground plane here. In fact, I can do that from the other side. But I do want to get some capacitors on there, so I will go and get a couple of hopefully, if I've got a couple of tantalum capacitors for the voltage regulator, they can do good work at high and low frequencies. Everything else is tacked on. Yes, it is. And then I'll make the last part. Well, a quick scurry about downstairs. Didn't bring any tantalums, but we've got a couple of 10 nanofarads. Because after all, I'm not running a fully stocked shop here, and we've got a couple of 10 microfarads, and we've got 1000 microfarad. So if possible, I will chuck them all at it in places wherever it makes the most sense. And we do have some space around here. Let's double check. Okay. We've got plenty of space. So on the 7805 regulators, or any 7.8 regulator, and I don't know why it's on here anyway, because it's already running from 5 volts. Maybe it's because you can use fast chargers that provide more voltage, but why would it tell it to? I don't know. Chances are we could possibly make an adapter and feed it a little more. There you go. Input pin 1, common pin 2, pin 3. There, if you can see that, is the output. We want to put a capacitor between the centre and the first pin, and a capacitor between the centre and the third pin. And the big capacitor I've got there will be somewhere further near the actual input on the daughter board. Now, you need a small capacitor and a big capacitor. Electrolytics don't deal with transient spikes very well. Ceramic capacitors don't have the overall capacitance to get rid of big transients, so we stick them together, make one that will do both. See, I complain about the state of the Chinese construction, and then I do stuff like this. And then justify it to myself that, well, I'm not selling the damn thing, so who cares what I do for myself. You may decide to make a neater job of it. Right, there's one. We want to try and get these as close to the legs of the voltage regulator. But again, whatever we do has a chance of making an improvement. We're not aiming for perfection. We can fit that in there. In fact, let's get both of these waked up together. Look at that. What a dirty job. On the electrolytics, both the negatives are facing inwards because they're both going onto the common rail, which is negative. And then with some massively oversized electrical cutters, you can try and bend it into a scheme that works. These leads are getting a little bit close. Get a little bit more than needed solder on there so it can flow. Little blob of solder on the end of each of the leads. Clean the tip, sorry cat. One, two, three. And we'll just bend it down, double check there's no short in leads. No, that's fine. And bend that down a little more. Yep, there's nothing touching there. So, are we ready to go back yet? Let's see. Soldering's okay. Yes. Yes, that can go back in. No, it can't go back in because I've missed clearing 2 holes. There we go. It's a bit of a squeeze to get it back in, which shows their tolerances aren't too bad. Okay, buttons are a little tight there. Let's see if they'll free themselves with a bit of exercise. No, not happy with that. Better to do it right the first time. for the second time. These bits on the RCA, I'm going to try and get them so that they're flush but still in there, because that's going to actually present itself as another point of earth contact, not earth, ground, chassis. So I don't want to remove all of these, just the unsightly bits that are hanging out. See how it goes. Check for tape remnants first. There we go. Perfect. Get a couple of screws in it while it's still behaving itself. Now I believe that was that the long one? I can't remember. Hey ho. There goes one of the sticky rubber feet. It'll happily landed sticky side down on one of the backing pieces of the copper tape, saving the day. You can, if you like, use a screwdriver that fits as well. underneath. Let's get this tape a little. It's got to be quite delicately moved there. We've got 4 screws from the bottom, so yeah, this one has got to go in the middle of the RCA. Don't know why they chose such them bloody sticky feet. Why do they insist on doing that? Just mould some friggin' feet onto the damn case and stop trying to hide screw holes. Nearly finished. There's just a couple of little pieces in the corners for the sake of autism. Sort of there. Yeah, just to close the loop, so to speak. Now this, where it has to go into here. And seeing that it's going into there, and I'm going to put a blob of solder, putting it really onto there. Oh, don't jump off. There you go. Alright, so that's some shielding. I want some to go in here, but I don't want it to touch anything in a bad way, you know, like Jimmy Savile bad. So I think yeah, we can just slip it in and leave the backing on. Hopefully I can just dab, there you go, that's secured it onto there. And this is getting dirtier and dirtier. Carrying solder on the tip of the iron like a bad boy. Right, it's touching nothing. Is this on the ground plane? Yes. Yes, it is. So why not just put another little blob on there. Then make a cut and a fold. I don't want to get this too close to the antenna. I want that antenna to work a little bit. Don't need any distance, but I want it to radiate through the front of the unit instead of anywhere else. Oh, now here's a bafflement. Which one of these went in which damned hole? That looked like it went in there. But I'll review the footage now and just make sure well, I lost half of that footage. It's finished anyway. Yeah, the battery ran out on the camera. The inside of here was completely covered in earthed copper as well. I lost 1 foot. Oh well, don't like them anyway. It's now connected to my amplifier here. That's just the noise from the damned amplifier. So if you just check the mode here, there's a switch on the back. The switch being in should use USB. The switch being out will make it into a PC sound card. So there we go. So that's playing a recording. That switch is the MP3 player in and out. This is the recording onto the USB drive now. There you go, told you so. Tone controls in the centre, maximum gain. The recording quality ain't too bad actually. Now if I just pause that, there's hardly any background noise now at all. The shielding's definitely worked on that part. Of course, I didn't save the footage of before the modifications, which almost makes the whole video pointless. But it being the same chip in this amplifier here, that is the one that operates the MP3, and you can hear that noise. That was the noise that was putting out, but absolutely that is just the noise of the amplifier. Now record mode is done by pushing the mode button. You have to have an MP3 file on this USB to put it into MP3 mode. If you don't already have a recorded file, you can't record. Right, okay, that is Yanxing Moshi, I think, is Chinese for recording, and the recording then flashes. Let's try it off. And then it plays an MP3.
Okay.
Let's do it again. Auxiliary mode. One more press. And it records again. You can pause. Yep. Fast forward and reverse don't do anything. Or it does a cycle.
Almost stopped.
USB, Bluetooth auxiliary. So if we take the take that out, and I've turned that channel off, can try turning all of the knobs up to see what happens. Maximum. A little bit of noise coming through. No. Effects. Now, compared with how these come out of the box, this is good. That's quiet. There's hiss, but what do you expect? Putting on the 48 volt phantom power. Again, that's now stopped doing the bam 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 effect, which happened every time you turned this bass control on any of the mic channels above midway, with no output connected, with the gain all the way down, all of the controls all the way down. There should have been no way for it to feed back, but it was going into severe motorboat feedback. Now that tells me pretty much that the problem was the 7805 regulator there. It's not capable of going into full operation unless you get 8 volts going in. Otherwise, what's it going to regulate? It can't regulate 5 volts to 5 volts. So I can only assume that these mixer boards were originally designed for a mixer that, for example, had a 9 or a 12 volt input rather than using the USB input. So we'll turn all of these down again, and then I'll connect a microphone and we can see what it's like with a microphone. So here's the microphone. Oh, it's a big one. It's big and it's black. Look at that. This is a Superlux TRA 118L. L for large, and it certainly is. Condenser mic. This has got a real rifle pickup pattern. You can aim this at things far away, and you will only hear what it's pointed at. It's the only condenser I've got handy, so we're going to use that indoors. First, action. It's not going to make any noise, absolutely nothing, without having phantom power. Here we go. Hello. Okay, we've got phantom power. The gain is up full. We can get a bit of feedback there. Now let's try the effects processor. Whoa. Okay, let's turn it down a little bit. That's with the delay and the repeat down all the way. Now we can turn to whoa. Okay, we turn the delay up full, and let's try the repeat up full. And try turning the delay down with the repeat up full. It doesn't sound too bad, although I don't know how often this would be used, not for my purposes. See whether we can get any motorboating back, Gonna nudge that control down. Now, can you see the flashing light there? I don't know if I can even zoom in enough. We go macro. Okay, you can see that flashing light there. That is, there's no sound. That's doing its thing because there's still some decoupling needed. Now, with this all the way down, I try with the gain all the way down and that all the way up. We'll have to stop it feeding back acoustically. Let's turn the speakers all the way off. So here you can see gain just getting to the signal is registering there. Turn it up and there it goes, and it locks. It just locks into feedback at that point until we back it all the way off. Turn the bass midway and the gain full up, because there's no reason why it shouldn't, if it works correctly, have everything turned up. If there's no audio output, nudge, 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 there it goes. So before we couldn't get that past midway point, and now it can go to about the 2:30 position. I'm not a great fan of tone controls anyway, so they'll be left in the middle. That's still not the autistic point. There's still a problem in there. It's not so much a problem, but it's still a problem. Just pull that headphones out completely. The phones are down all the way. The main down all the way. Is it still going to do it? Yep, look at that. And another strange thing is that you can't hear anything. There's nothing coming out of the headphones output. Oh, that's because I turned it down. That's what it sounds like. Can we have fun? Can we have fun? Yes, we can. That's enough of that. Off it goes. So let's try recording. Let's get everything at the midway point. We'll turn the phone's output down. It's now playing its tune, but we can't hear it because that channel's off. Which is great, really. Isn't it? Absolutely. we'll keep that down and hit mode twice. Not that quick. There we go, phantom power on. Now let's try with the microphone up and phones down. There's no point recording and getting more feedback. Okay, this is full gain, full level 1. Let's try the main level all the way up. Let's try the main level all the way down and the main level midway. Don't know if that has any effect on things. Now it's going into the feedback, so let's see if that comes out on the recording. We'll nudge that back, stop the feedback. There it goes back into it again. How about with the main down? Is it going into feedback now? No, it's not, so there must be some feedback going on from this main. Whether this affects the recording, we'll find out in a moment. Let's stop it. Stop the phantom power. Activate the MP3 player. Turn the main up. Turn the MP3 player up. Maybe a few more earthing points. But we've already done that, mate. We've already done that. Let's try with the microphone. Let's try with the microphone up and phones down. There's no point recording. We could turn the gain up, getting more feedback. Okay, this is full gain, full level 1. Let's try the main level all the way up. Let's try the main level and the main level midway. Clearly the main level hasn't things. It does have an effect on things. Now it's going into feedback. So let's see if that comes out on the recording. Well, we've got a negative on the recording. Stop the feedback. There it goes back into it again. How about? So none of that seems to have any detrimental effect on USB recording. Next step, I suppose, will be checking the speed of the USB recording and just see whether this records with a reasonable clock rate. Then I'll check that by recording at the same time as I record with the camera, importing the soundtrack and the on-camera soundtrack both into the video edit suite, and then seeing if the audio match up. I'm sure there's a bit of stretching that can be done if they don't, but it'd be nice if they do match up perfectly, or near as. Now let's try it through the computer. It's plugged into the back of the computer on one of the more powerful USB ports. Often laptops have one that prefers to be used, and that's it. The switch on the back of the mixer is now out, and now you can see that this is saying PC on the display. It's also had to be set up on the laptop audio settings as digital input and digital output. Now here's a recording just to, this is not done with this mixer, this was done with the decent multi-track recorder, but as a playback it will work. So this is playing back through the mixer, and the sound quality is actually okay. There's no problems with it at all. Let's try and put it into a bit of overdrive. There we go. the sound quality is okay. For the next test though, we're going to try and record. For that we'll use Audacity. Turn on the phantom power. Let's give it some gain. We'll turn the output off because we don't need to monitor. Standard tone controls, and the main is all the way up. Let's turn these effect controls down. So, do we have any noise coming out? Nope, not yet. I have to check them. Oh, am I an idiot? Start monitoring. Start monitoring, that helped. Okay, so can we see the laptop display? I'll have to just zoom in as much as possible. There we go. We can now see it. Let's try recording a track. New track. Record. 1 2 1 2. Now that's showing up as being very, very low levels. Do we need to turn these up? The monitor level says that it's okay. So I'd be inclined to think that maybe it's just magnification on here. Not bothered about that anyway. What we're looking for is the quality and pitch of recording, because it's got a pitch problem where it shifts every few seconds between being Darth Vader pitch and then up to either normal or extra high pitch. That's enough recording. We'll stop, go back to the start, we'll turn the microphone down, turn the output up and play 1 2 1 2. There we go. Turn these up. The monitor level says that it's okay. So I'd be inclined to think that maybe, and it does this constantly throughout any recording, and the levels are a little bit low on this. The quality and pitch of recording. This isn't peculiar to mine. I've had a look through some of the YouTube comments of other channels, and definitely there's a few people that are getting this effect on the PC output. If there's a way that anybody knows how to fix this, whether it's something on software, then please leave a comment. It's confusing the hell out of me, because if you do a monitor of the output, as in monitoring the live recording, it's actually sounding okay, and it's only doing this on the recording. But that's about all there is to say about this little unit. I can use it. I can't use it exactly how I wanted to use it. Construction wise, it's a nice little unit, but it's got some drawbacks. It's not perfect. It is really, really cheap. 20 quid. Can you complain for 20 quid? Well, yes. Fortunately I'm English, so I can complain about bloody anything. You give me a gold bar and I'll complain. I'll say it's not been shined up nicely. But it will definitely have some use. In fact, just before I go, I'm going to make one extra small recording section where I'll try to put the output directly into this camera. Okay, so I don't know how this is going to turn out. This is the microphone plugged into the mixer. I've adapted the camera so it takes a microphone input, and there's also the other side of the stereo is the camera's built-in microphone. This is the camera's built-in microphone. It's being filmed on a Nikon J1, cheap and cheerful little camera, lacking in features, but that's more the fun, is adding the features that they didn't put on. Anyway, let's see how this sounds. Let's try it with let's try it at half gain as well. This is not showing anything. Let's try turning that out. Let's try maximum gain. This is maximum everything. It's going into feedback as well. Maximum bass is really going into feedback. I'm not monitoring, so I don't know what it sounds like until afterwards. Going to midway, level to midway, main to up. That should do for a test. As the microphone is now back out. I'll go and edit this inside the mix, and say thanks for watching. Subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. Like if you like it. Don't like it if you don't. Ciao for now.